Hey, you guys, give me just a second while I link up the channels to live stream on here. Looks like YouTube is live and Facebook is live. All right, cool. Hello. Hi. Happy Sunday. I hope your morning has been just delightful and wonderful. And I appreciate you taking the time to join me here to talk about knowing your divinity so that you can change your identity. So, what do I mean by that? Well, in my experience, there's those of us that are, into things like manifesting, or we're personal development junkies. Anybody else out there? Or you maybe consider yourself to be a spiritual seeker. Maybe you've gone on yoga retreats or done some plant medicine stuff. Um, and maybe you're more like the Tony Robbins like type of person that's the kind of thing that you like to show up for so that you can be the best version of yourself and like really rock life, right? So oh, the other one too, which I've done and sat in the hot seat, is Abraham Hicks workshop. So if any of this is something that you're familiar with, just drop a comment and let me know which one of the personal development, self-improvement, spiritual evolution type things that you have personally done or that you are into. Okay, because you're who I'm speaking to today. Those of us that are um, called or compelled to evolve and expand our awareness of ourselves and our experience of life. Maybe it's more focused on, maybe you're an entrepreneur, and so it's more about developing your skills and your knowledge and your abilities in the arena of business. Or maybe for you, it's more about your health and your fitness and optimizing this physical body just to see what you can do with it, because that's fun. But in any case, my experience as a lifelong seeker, if you will, of self-awareness, self-optimization, all of the personal and spiritual development stuff, all of the optimization and entrepreneurial ability and skill stuff, all of that has been part of my world for, well, shit, since I was like 8 years old, selling snow cones on the corner of our lot in the trailer park that I grew up in. And by the way, we didn't call them snow cones because I grew up on the south side of San Antonio. We call them raspas. So, anyway, my point is, I have been seeking for decades. And what I found was that unless we come to know ourselves as infinite, you might say that as already whole and complete. You might say that as God, which is another way that I say that, but that can be a little edgy for some. But unless we come to know ourselves, our true selves, our divinity, then we are going to be seeking until the motherfucking cows come home, y'all. It will be a never ending process that never fulfills that which we're trying to achieve. Okay. So now, what I'm not saying is that once you discover your divinity, you no longer have any interest in evolving or expanding or experiencing whatever next level is available to you. I did not say that. But what does shift in our pursuit of pleasure and more and better and all of this, what does shift is our internal perception of ourselves and the motivation or the drive to that next level of health, happiness, love, wealth, and so on. Picking this up? Good. All right, so let me just check in. I'm going to look in here on Facebook. Again, drop a comment if you're here with me. It looks like I've got somebody tuned in today. And then let me check on, okay, just checking the chats, y'all. Making sure that oops, let's go live chat. There we go. Just making sure that I'm able to interact with you here, because that's what makes this so delicious for me and hopefully for you as well. All right, so knowing our divinity is what allows us to change or enhance our identity in a way that then gives our pursuit of whatever more joy, more ease, more grace, more satisfaction. And it's almost, when we know our divinity, we know that we are not this broken person who needs to get somewhere in order to be loved, worthy, desired, okay. Like, when we know our divinity, who we see ourselves to be, our identity, then becomes one of we're good, right? Just to put it super simply, we go, oh, I'm good, and let's see what else I can do. Let's see what else life has to offer me. Let's see what else, right? And so then if we want to change something about our lives or our bodies or our businesses, then we're changing, we're pursuing those alterations and evolutions. We're pursuing that not from a broken sense of self, and I'm using some dramatic language here, but you know what I mean. Not from some sense of ourselves where we have to earn it. We have to fight and struggle and strain and sacrifice and suffer in order to get some peace or love or wealth or joy. No, no, that is not how we were made. We were not designed to suffer and sacrifice and stress. And yet, that is exactly what we got going on in this world. So, which is why I'm hosting this Sunday service, to hopefully give you a new perspective on who you are and what life is about. When we know our divinity and then we pursue these experiences in life, we're not pursuing them out of a fundamental perception of ourselves as lacking in some capacity, okay? When we know our divinity, we can change our identity, right? From single to married, for example, from overweight to lean and healthy, for example, from sick to well, for example, okay? We can change our identity from a deeper place of knowing. And that place of knowing, think about the word knowing. When we know something, it's known. It's like a de facto truth, right? It simply is. Versus trying to believe in something, trying to convince ourselves of something, trying to effort to acquire and achieve something to hopefully then believe I am something or am worthy of something, right? Like, no. When we know our divinity, we change our identity in a state of grace. We pursue our goals, our dreams in a state of grace, right? From a place of knowing, oh, it's mine. Oh, I am a wealthy doctor, right? Oh, I am a lean, healthy, bad ass, whatever it is. Oh, I am able to have whatever I desire, my heart desires. Okay, so it's a whole new paradigm. It's a whole new way of looking at the world. We see through the eyes of God. We see ourselves as infinite, already whole beings who can create or materialize or manifest, if you like that word better, whatever we desire. Okay, now there's a way to do that, and there are things that block that from happening gracefully, effortlessly, and completely. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, right? How to get what you want. This is the part, what I'm sharing with you now, is the part of that description, why you haven't had true freedom and fulfillment is number one, because you're trying to change something about yourself or your life from the level of your current identity. And one of the, I don't know, maybe it's becoming more well known, but it's a little known thing, meaning not many people recognize this, that your current identity has a fundamental flaw. I call it a soul wound. I've written about it in terms of a fake ID, right? It's the not you, but you think it's you, and you've been carrying this fake fucking ID around for decades that says this is who you are, and it's not true. It's a fake ID. I call it a soul wound because it's so deeply embedded in our subconscious, meaning it's not known to us, right? And it's the wound or the spiritual wound, the fundamental flaw that keeps us from freedom and fulfillment. It keeps us from knowing our divinity, our true identity. Okay. So the work that I do in my private practice is all about diagnosing your soul wound, which is by design unknown to you, right? Which is why you need someone like me to help you get in there into the metaphysical or subconscious space and determine what you're unique to you. It's like a fingerprint. It's unique to you. And until you know what that is for you, it will block, sabotage, fuck shit up is what it does. Okay. And it does it in very discreet ways, but then also very obvious ways. And you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to drop a bunch of examples, but feel free to drop your own examples in the comments or the chat for this. Like, what ways does your soul wound, that subconscious, long held belief about yourself, what ways does that frustrate you or sabotage you or trigger you? Because, oh, by the way, your soul wound is the soul, SOLE, source of every trigger, every moment, every time you feel triggered. Okay. And again, it could be mild, like traffic, although some people get real fucking triggered by traffic. But you could just be like, ugh, hurry the fuck up. Or you could be like DEFCON 1, about ready to like somebody, right? So your soul wound is what's been triggered. And if you don't know what your soul wound is, hit me up, because that is my expertise in diagnosing your soul wound. But that's only half of it, right? Because then we have to heal it. And I'm not going to go too far into that conversation in this service, but absolutely ask a question if you want more information about that, because that is what I do as a metaphysician. All right. So let me just repeat what I said. The number one reason, let me say that differently. The first reason you don't have true freedom and fulfillment in your life right now is because you're trying to change yourself, your body, your relationship, potentially your business, whatever you got going on that isn't fabulous. You're trying to change that from the level of identity, and your identity is fundamentally flawed because of your soul wound. Okay. Number two, the second reason you don't have true freedom and fulfillment is because you're using tools and following teachings from other people who are also stuck in their identity. In other words, unless the teachers that you're following or the tools that you're using are being shared or taught from the absolute truth that you and I are one and we are infinite, we are God, right? Unless that's the place your teachers and guides and therapists are guiding you from, you won't arrive at the knowing of who you really are, at the truth, at your divinity. Okay. So that is why it's really frustrating. And it's why I stepped away from using a coaching model, which I had a successful coaching business for about a decade, and solving problems like big life problems. I started as an intimacy coach, working with couples to restore joy and connection in their marriages. But the coaching model tends to, and I'm speaking generally here, there are exceptions, but the coaching model tends to coach to a person's conscious mind. And it touches occasionally, it takes you into your inner guidance, your intuition, and your imagination occasionally. But if that coach that is coaching you isn't highly gifted and skilled in knowing who they are and using their divinity, their intuition, their imagination, that like tapping into the divine while in conversation with you, if that shit ain't happening, well, then you're just solving problems. You're just solving the current problem, putting a band-aid on it most likely, and it might feel real good in the moment, but you're solving problems and achieving goals at the level of your conscious mind so that your identity can feel productive, so that your identity can feel satisfied with its effort and achieve some sense of stability or what's the word, praise or happiness or satisfaction, which is great, you guys. I'm not poo-pooing it, because it's all about, like, we're on a journey, and at some level that is like the highest manifestation of our liberation. And and for some of us, it just doesn't fulfill us at a soul level. In other words, we've achieved a lot of goals, and we've celebrated our wins, and we've reached high levels of whatever it is and we want in our lives. And we know that that's not freedom and fulfillment, right? We know that that's a temporary satisfaction. Okay. So those of us that want to experience true freedom and true fulfillment, which is why I started this conversation by saying, you're this person, you're this person, you're this person, right? Tony Robbins, plant medicines, Esther Hicks followers, manifestors, optimizers, right? You guys like want the peak experience. And goal achievement is small in comparison to what I'm talking about here, to knowing your divinity. And by the way, I just want to say to my peak performance people that knowing your divinity does not equal losing your edge. On the contrary, right? So that's one of the things that I've encountered. People think that, oh, if I get to that place of inner peace, this drive, this edge that I really thrive on, that I enjoy so much, I'll lose it. Nope. Mm-mm. It gets sharper. It gets sharper. Okay. You actually know something, your competition doesn't even know. Forget about acquiring skills and hiring the best coaches and all of that shit, right? Like when you know your divinity, you're fucking infinite. Can your competitors say I am infinite? If they can, great. They're probably rocking some of this work. But if they can't, then you'll see the difference. And I say that with a caveat. This is not here's how to get one up on your competition, right? What I'm talking about here, by the way, we can't actually know our divinity if we're trying to get one up or over on someone else, because in knowing our divinity, we know that we're one. Okay. And in that knowing, the competition is like for fun, right? It can still be fierce, but it's not fuck you fierce. It's not I will hurt you and cut you fierce. It's just holy hell. Yes, I got this because I'm infinite. So I don't know about you, but for me, that sounds way more fun and fulfilling than having this, like, I don't know, hateful fucking thing that then causes all this like angst and anger and ugliness in our and I'm doing right here, right? Because it's like, it makes us ugly. And we don't want that, right? We want to look good and do good and feel good and live good. I know that's not proper grammar, but you know what I'm saying. All right. So let me reiterate, the second reason why you're not living in true freedom and fulfillment right now is because you're using tools and following teachers that are stuck in their identity, trying to fix something that's wrong. Problem solving at the level of the conscious mind. Another way to say that is the level of the ego, which even when it gets what it wants, it's never good enough. And so you're right back on the motherfucking hamster wheel looking for the next fix. Okay. So number three is why you don't have true freedom and fulfillment at the moment is because you are probably, this is a probably, completely surrounded by other people who are stuck in their identity doing the same things you are. Okay. So in my experience, one of the even if you had a teacher or a coach or whatever, a guide that was talking like I'm talking to you now, showing you your divinity and reflecting this back to you, showing you, supporting you, and being who you really are, and then coming up with what it is your heart wants to express and experience, and then supporting you to manifest or fulfill that desire, even if you had that and you were surrounded by a bunch of normal people doing normal shit, having normal problems, living normal life, which by normal, you know what I mean. It's usually doom and gloom and fear and fixing. Even if you were in a program, let's say, or in a coaching or going to church or whatever it is, the good kind of church, the church that tells you the truth, not the lies of separation. But even if you were doing all that and you lived every other moment of your life surrounded by normal people, fear-based, separation-based paradigm people, it'd be real hard to live in your truth surrounded by people living in fear and lies. Okay. So that also could be elevated, upgraded, in order to not just know your divinity, because knowing is one thing, but insight without action. My first coach taught me this. I love you, Alicia. Insight without action produces nothing. Okay. And I don't know about you, but it's not, I want more than just knowing, because I can sit here. I'm in my office now, but I've got a swanky living room with a fucking emerald velvet high back chair. I call it my throne. But I could sit there and relish the knowing of my divinity and not engage with anyone, not bring this message, not fix my hair up for you and put a bunch of makeup on and do a live stream and share this message with you and be completely content. And I want more, right? My heart has me compelled to get up out of that chair where it's pure bliss in knowing of my divinity and get into action and share, right? Speak my truth. It's not my truth, it's the truth, right? We are all divine beings having human experiences. Our human experiences are very distinct and unique, and let me say, our divinity is the exact same. So I'm here to show you that truth and invite you into my world where not only is that the paradigm by which we live, by the way, paradigm, right? There's the two basic paradigms are separation from one another, from all of life, and from God. Separation is over here, and then there's, I guess you could call it unity or oneness, right? And that's you and I are one at the level of consciousness, at the level of our spirit, and one, not just you and me, but all. That is, we are one, and from that oneness, we then enjoy, hopefully, our unique perspectives and desires and abilities and experiences, and from this paradigm, we experience freedom and fulfillment, y'all. We experience love and joy and peace on the regular. So for me, this paradigm, this unity paradigm, this knowing of myself as divine, and I say me, but you, we, right? It is just so much more enjoyable. So, and it's a choice. We can choose to see this, ourselves this, and the world this, and each other this way, separate. Boy, that's where suffering and stress and striving come from. Or we can choose to see through God's eyes, the way that we were created. Okay. And it's totally up to us. So I'm not trying to convince anyone over here to come over here. No, it's like, what do you want? Choose. If you want some of this, come play with me, right? And so in my world, this is the unity consciousness, or the unity paradigm is the way that we roll. That is the only way in which I will communicate with you and engage with you if you're in my world. And I've also just recently created a mastermind so that we can come together as a group. Remember when I said surrounded by people, normal life, separate fear-based living? So the community that I've created is intended to support and elevate and integrate the knowing, right? Because knowing is one thing, living integrated in that truth is a whole other thing. So if you want more information on that, please check out the mastermind. I don't have it on a website anywhere, so just send me a message or drop a comment and I'll get you more information about that. Okay, let me just say one thing about my metaphysical mastermind. It is high level. And I'm very protective of the energy in the group and community that I'm creating. So it's high level personal mastery, okay, where yes, you will discover your divinity. You will clarify your heart's desires, because remember, we're trying to change things from the level of identity, the level of ego, which the ego only wants to be liked and get it right. And nothing wrong with that. But if you're compelled, or maybe you don't quite know what your heart desires, but you want to, that's another aspect of my mastermind. And then it's about developing your gifts, your inherent God-given gifts, to actually manifest or materialize people, places, opportunities, resources, whatever it is that will then support and fulfill your heart's desire from you being in your divinity. So that's what my metaphysical mastermind is about. So hit me up if you want more information about that. Okay. So now let's talk about how, and I've already started this, to get what you want. Number one, you got to know your divinity. I mean, I think I've already said all this. So let me just look at my notes. Yeah, it's your divinity. So I talk about that as next level self-awareness. Nobody really teaches us that we're God, not even religion a lot of the times, right? Religion is often fear-based separation paradigm. You have to do this to get that. God's love, right? Into the heavens and stuff, right? You have to do this to earn that, to be worthy of. And that's what got us all fucked up to begin with, y'all. I digress. So the first thing we have to do in order to get what we truly want, and by the way, let me just pause here and say, I'm not just talking about spiritual desires. If you want a new car, I have my eye on a Bentley. So whatever it is that you want, to have that come to full fruition or manifestation for you, no matter what that desire is, yes, we have to tap into your divinity and what your heart actually wants for you. But it can be, this car fulfills something, right? Your physical body, you want to lose 30 pounds, right? That's not just the desire of the ego, but you're trying to change it at the level of ego or identity. So it doesn't matter what you want. And there has to be a component, a knowing, a clarification, if you will, of what your heart wants. Okay, the head and the heart, in other words, I think this is number two. Yeah, so number two, we have to identify your true desire, because everything else is distraction. You can achieve a lot of goals. You could even lose the weight and get the car or whatever the fuck, but it won't fulfill you if there's not also your heart's expression and experience of that manifestation, because everything else is distraction. And let's see, what's my note say? The fulfillment cannot be known to you at the level of identity. Okay. So again, know your divinity is number one. Number two is identify your true desire. And then number three is learn to use your God-given gifts, because no one talks about this either, but we were literally born, created by God. Humanity was created to manifest. Okay. Made in his image means he has an idea. I say he, God, source. It's not some dude with a beard in the fucking sky, y'all, who's this like angry father. It's not that. So God created humanity within God's imagination from an idea so that God could experience God's infinite nature. Humanity, you and me, were created as the vehicles, if you will. We're localizations of the infinite. And we have these finite bodies, these finite senses, and finite minds, so that we could have an individualized experience of the infinite. Pretty fucking cool. And And so when I say we were literally created to manifest, we're on planet Earth, which is the planet of manifestation, bringing idea or imagination to fruition, to form something that could be observed and experienced through our senses. And so learning to use these God-given gifts to materialize, to manifest our imagination, our ideas, our heart's desires into form is literally what we were born to do, y'all. So, all right, I'm gonna pause there and check in and see what kind of questions we might have going on over here. All right, cool. Erica, hello. Alexis, hello. All right, so Erica says, very true about identity and the ego being around people doing the same thing in a repeated pattern. It really is. I mean, you know, we've all heard in the personal development circles that we are the sum total of the 5 people we spend the most time with. That's true. And if we engage regularly with a group of people that have that perspective of the unity paradigm, and I don't like unity sounds a little religious to me, and I don't have a religious intent with this, even though it sounds like Sunday service and ministry and stuff like that, right? But this is all from my intent is that it's a metaphysical, right? We go beyond the known into the unknown. I could call this quantum fucking Sunday if I wanted to, but anyway. So spending time consistently with a group of people that share this quantum perspective of self, and by not contrast, by default, other and the world, right? Sharing, being in that conversation consistently just is going to like exponentially up level and well, up level and our mind and our abilities and all the things. So I just wanted to acknowledge, Erica, what you said. I absolutely concur, girl. All right, so any comments or questions that you have thus far? Let me check in on the YouTubes. Yeah, not many people are showing up on my YouTubes. Not sure what to do about that. I guess it's because it's brand spanking new that we'll just let the divine handle that, right? I'll let my intention manifest that more people find this message on YouTube and join in the conversation. All right, there it is. I spoke it out loud. So, all right, so Alexa said keywords help. All right, well, fuck, somebody needs to do that shit for me because I am not spending the time on the back end SEO and stuff like that. That is just not the best use of my gifts and skills and time. So, but I hear you, Alexis. I know that there's algorithms and shit like that going on, but it's I'm just reconciled. I'm not going to be doing that with my time. So, all right, let's get back over here. So any questions about those 3 reasons why you aren't currently living in true freedom and fulfillment, or questions about how to actually get what you want, right? Know your divinity, identify your true desire, and learn to use your gifts to manifest. Any questions about that before I move on? All right. Alexis is like, yeah, okay, what you got for me, boo? Let me know. I am loving your engagement and your participation. I thank you very much for that. Because just sitting here, if I was just doing this like direct to camera on my own without anybody's participation, it wouldn't be as dynamic, I suppose, but also not as enjoyable for me. So thank you. Okay, so I will circle back if you guys have any questions about what I've shared so far today. Erica says, does your mastermind group meet online? Yes, it does. Absolutely. We have a Thank you for your question, Erica. Yes, we meet once a week online, and then I'm also hosting a monthly in-person meetup for those who are able and want to join for that in-person experience. That piece of it is more of a social, it's kind of like the cherry on top. Um, but in addition to our weekly live online um, conversation, if you will, there I also employ a metaphysical tool, and I send that out at the start of each week, a practice, a tool, a technique for everybody in this mastermind to use to helpfully develop your already inherent, right? I'm not trying to put new information into you, trying to give you a new tool from out there at the level of your identity to fix what's not working. Not that, right? These are all metaphysical tools. And the thing about my work with people is it's not a one size fits all. In other words, you use the tools that resonate with you, and you use them. Right? And so I send a new tool out each week, and the tools could be anything from learning metaphysical prayer, which we're going to do some of at the end of this live stream here, but learning metaphysical prayer, um, tuning into Christ consciousness. Like there's a whole bunch of tools, and each week is a new one. And to maintain integrity in our group, you actually have to demonstrate your participation in this conversation, but with these tools. And again, if you're just like, yeah, I read it, it didn't resonate, so I am using the one that I learned last week or whatever it may be, right? That's cool. But remember when I said I'm fiercely protective of this energy in the group? In my experience in the past, people who join groups don't always fully participate, and so they don't get the full impact of being in the group. And I'm not that's not how I'm rolling. We can't do that in my world. So so I have all this information is going to be on the Google document that I can send you if you would like me to. All right, so let's see. Yeah, Alexis brought up theta and delta waves. Yeah, that's the key to metaphysical prayer, is being in, it's actually alpha and theta. Delta's like deep sleep, right? But I'm not going to get into that right here, but that is actually something that I incorporate in the work that I do with my people, because brain waves are key, right? Who does that? Joe Dispenza is all about that. I don't have the machines and the science and the research and all of that behind me. I have no interest in that. Other people are into that. That's great. I defer to them on those topics. So yeah, thanks, Erica. I grew up in metaphysics, so a group like you're describing sounds great. I know, right? That's why I created it, because I'm like, this is the group I need to be in, and I invest heavily in, like over $100,000 in the last 2 years, heavily in high level groups to really extract the absolute best of me. But I haven't yet been in one where seeing me as absolute divinity and engaging with me as that, to then birth or bring forth whatever the intention was for being in the group, like that shit has never happened. And so then it was like, God was like, okay, create it. So I did. Okay, so there was somebody asked a question, and I'm just going to read it because she sent this to me, and I said, you know what, other people probably have that same question. So Julie, this is to answer your question. I know we have a call on Monday, but Julie sent in a question and said, I'm seriously considering your mastermind. One thing that I love about working with you, Julie's a former private client of mine. One thing I love about working with you is how magical you are, and I would love to get plugged into that magic. Can you tell me more about how you as a metaphysician will be using this magic in our work together? Yeah, so absolutely. I've already said that in multiple ways, but as a metaphysician, my job, I guess, is to bring us all out of our identity, out of that separation paradigm where we see ourselves as separate from one another and from the world, which means separate from our desire, whatever that is. If it's a leaner body or a bigger bank account or a happy, healthy marriage or whatever it is, right? Those are, and so body, our physical body, our work, and our intimate or love lives or relationships are usually the three main motivators. So, um, as a metaphysician, my primary job is to create the space where we are seeing and engaging in the metaphysical space, in this unity paradigm, right? And maintaining that state of knowing of our divinity. And from that divinity, from our infinite fulfillment, it's already done, it's already mine. Let's celebrate. And we're going to do some of that in the metaphysical prayer at the end of this session. From that place, then the ideas, they're completely different. Let me just say that. The ideas that we have to act on are ideas that are divine, right? They're like divine downloads, I like to call them. But the ideas that we have and are inspired to act on are just like, it feels like magic. It feels like, it looks like, people talk about it like miracles, but from a metaphysical perspective or from our divinity, it's just normal stuff. It's just how life is, right? Things apparently line up for us in a wonderful way. And so, so not only am I being that as a metaphysician leading a metaphysical mastermind, not only am I being that, and I don't want to say only allowing, but inviting, I'll be nice about it, inviting you to be that with me. There's a transmission that occurs, right? Because we're one. And if we're experiencing ourselves as one, then we sort of, what is the word, like osmosis, we take on that knowing. And there are, like I said, the practices, the tools, the exercises, if you will, to help integrate that knowing into your everyday life. So it's very much metaphysical paired with practical, so that what you have is this access to freedom and fulfillment within, and the enjoyment of your physical body, the physical world, your relationships, your ideas, your actions, your outcomes. Okay? Hopefully that answered that. Let's see if I can simplify that in just the most like simple, direct way. As a metaphysician, I bring you into the metaphysical space, show you your divinity, help you recognize and remember your divinity as you act on your heart's desires, even outside of, right? Because it's not like we can't just live in the bubble. We also live in this physical world where not everybody shares our perspective and not everybody is living from unity and love and peace and fulfillment. So even when we're out in the world, we're able to maintain or return to, remember who we are, and act from that inspired and aligned desire, right? It changes our entire lives, y'all. It changes our relationships, it changes our business, it changes our bodies, it changes every fucking thing. Okay. All right, so that was one question that was sent in. I hope that is a satisfactory answer, something that you can actually use. All right, let's see. Anything else going on over here in the comments? Not, it doesn't look like it at the moment. All right, so now I want to get into, feel free to drop those if something does come up. I will do my best to circle back and give you an A to your Q. But now we're going to get into metaphysical prayers. So this is something that's very near and dear to my heart, because the way that we've been taught to pray is like, again, from this separation paradigm where God is out there somewhere in the air, that we are like hoping and is listening to us and hoping will grant us our desperate request for something. Yeah, that's unfortunately counterproductive. So, metaphysical prayer. Metaphysical prayer is first and foremost, so circling back to your theta delta waves, first and foremost, getting ourselves into a state of consciousness, a state of being. You could even think of that as regulating your nervous system to a place of neutral at best, or sorry, at minimum. A place of love and joy and peace at best, right? It works best if we can get ourselves, if we can conjure, if you will. And this isn't woo woo, wackadoo, witchy shit, right? This is literally what we are capable of doing, is shifting our state of being despite a circumstance, right? We can alter or regulate, is the commonly used word, alter or regulate our nervous system to then be more productive, right? Because the stress, when our nervous system is stressed or anxious or afraid, it's incongruent, if you will, and it's certainly not, it's not fertile ground for manifesting or praying and having our prayers answered. So getting our regulating our nervous system so that we experience neutrality, and then we get into gratitude and appreciation. So, metaphysical prayer is appreciating and acknowledging the infinite I am, where all things exist now, which means your health, your financial abundance, your beautiful, loving relationship, okay, your kind, loving self-talk. It all exists now. And metaphysical prayer is about acknowledging and appreciating that reality or that truth. So getting ourselves first into a neutral state. So there's breath work, there is meditation, and those are the two most commonly used tools to achieve I mean, there's so many more. I actually have a very specific method that I've developed that I use with my clients and peers, but I'm not going to get into it now, right? That's my medicine. But getting ourselves into a neutral state, and then if you want to say, moving then into that metaphysical prayer of thank you and appreciating what is, well-being exists now, abundance, financial stability exists now, loving kindness exists now, right? It all is now. And so the metaphysical prayer is about making a affirmative statement of truth, appreciating what is, right? Even though it may not be apparent to us in our physical bodies, if it's a health issue, even though it may not be apparent to us now in a marriage or in our bank account, even though it may not be apparent to us now, it exists now. And so metaphysical prayer is about appreciating and acknowledging that what we desire, what feels lacking for us, exists now. And so, I want you to use words that resonate for you. If it's thank you, Father, that's one way to do it. Or if it's just I am, I am. And again, it's a statement of truth. Otherwise, we'll re-stimulate our nervous system into fight or flight because your inner knowing knows the truth and the not truth, right? So it's not these empty affirmations trying to fake it till you make it and convince yourself of something. Metaphysical prayer is statements of truth. And so if we have to say something at this moment to really like have it resonate for in our whole being, I'm aware that perfect health exists for me now. Okay, which is different than saying I am perfectly healthy now when you're like in the hospital, right? I'm aware that this exists for me now because all things, we are one, we are infinite. All things that exist for me, you now, right? I am the infinite, right? And so making those statements of truth is how we pray metaphysically, making those statements of truth, appreciating, and then so not empty affirmations, statements of truth through appreciation and affirmative statements of truth. So not it's not right. I'm aware that I don't have to be sick now. Like that's just not how we say these things, right? And I'm aware that this person that I love can be free of addiction, for example. Like we don't say the things that we are wanting to see dissolve, right? Because those things, those addictions, the sickness, the lack, the scarcity, the fear, those are all perceptions, apparent experiences that exist in this paradigm of separation and fear. Okay. So if we're speaking in terms of those things that we don't want, we're still engaging, if you will, in this false belief of separation and therefore the experience of fear. Okay. So any questions about metaphysical prayer as I just shared it with you? I'm probably going to be sharing that definition or description every week because I think it's incredibly important that we get that. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any questions at the moment, but if something comes up, I'll do my best to circle back and get you an answer. All right. So now there are two people that I am going to offer a metaphysical prayer treatment for. And by the way, if you have a request for yourself or someone else that is facing a challenge and you would like metaphysical prayer treatment for, again, yourself or someone else, just drop it in the comments and I will take that into consideration. All right. So this first person, here's what I'll say. And I'm just gonna sink in. So you're just gonna see me do it, right? So see you in a bit. Thank you for the love I am. And therefore, He is. The love in my heart is in His heart. The love, the peace in my mind is in His mind. The well-being in my body is in His body. We are one. We are divine. I thank you for this knowing, for this gift, for the love, for the well-being, and for the peace. Amen. All right, so notice I didn't, and I kept his name. I withheld his name, although I said it before I started speaking, and I saw him, and so I brought us into this moment. So I know that these words don't capture it correctly, but like him, me, and God, even though we're all aspects of one, it again, I'm experiencing this through a limited finite mind with limited language, right? Because if like the only way to describe God is to be silent. And so doing the best that I can with the tools that I have of my mind and my speech, I call, like that's what I did in my mind. I got myself away from all this. I saw him, I said his name, and I saw us. And then I spoke the words out loud, right? And notice that I didn't speak words of what was wrong or going on that was unwanted. I only spoke words that I resonate in me as truth now, not some hope of future truth experience. But that is for me a metaphysical prayer. Okay. So this next person, I'm going to go into it for her now. All is well and getting better. The perfect form and function of every organ of your body is restored now. All is well and getting better. Your joy is increasing and your peace is filling every cell of your physical body right this moment. Yes, you can rest and relax knowing you're well, perfect in form and function. Amen. Woo. All right. So to those two people, I love you. And to you guys here with me, thank you. I appreciate your presence and your engagement and your questions. And I am more than happy to continue this conversation with you next Sunday or before if you join me in some other capacity. Feel free. Erica, I will since you're on Facebook, girl, I'll just send you the link to the Google Doc for the mastermind so you can look at that information and see if it's something you want to participate in. All right. Alexis, let me know if that's something that you might be interested in too. I know you like this conversation, but you may or may not be interested in a mastermind. So, in any case, thanks again, you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you again real soon. Bye.